And you work out a little bit of butterfly until it starts to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, that's.
Yeah.
Just then when you wait until 4.
They're only basing it on what the so it's less than zero.
Can you give me like can you give me an apple figure?
Yeah.
I have to put it down.
You're so pretty cool. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he showed us. There's a bit more. I basically got like I couldn't figure it out at the time.
Yeah. The biggest thing is hydration. I did 30. Yeah, good luck with that.
Dan.
Yep.
Great. Yeah, awesome.
You got
No.
you talked to
No, I had a bunch of interviews and I posts. I had to be up at 5. I'm usually still up at 5.
one thing he did well.
I got a couple of sheet down. I
It has to go.
look at it.
I'll wait until after it's finished.
No, just the things that we have.
I'm sorry. With your snapping. How many minutes? Yeah. I love that photo when you're surfing. No, did a shark get you?
No, before you play,
Good morning. Thanks for coming. My name is Walter Stern. I'm an attorney from Kenosha, Wisconsin. And I'm representing some very nice people involving the Michael Funk matter that occurred on December 5th of 2015, and in particular relating to the hostages that were arrested, detained, some were moved to the police department. I'd like to introduce some people that are part of this team that are just amazing. Steve Verado, Donna Frankart, Pat Piper, my investigator, Bob Slanka, Kate Riggs. I think that first, what's important to me is that the thirst for the truth as to what happened in this case, which I'm sure you're somewhat familiar with, is timeless. It's almost 6 years after the incident of the killing of Michael Funk and the arrest of the hostages who were treated like criminals, no better than criminals. I think where I would start is September 21st of 2012. The police stormtrooped their way into the Eagle Nation. 252 years of felonies based on a search warrant of little value. What they got out of the 250 years was 0.9 milligrams of marijuana. Then we moved to December 5th, 2015. As you all know, Brian Fladoff took people that were in Eagle Nation into custody. Basically, at the point of a gun, he wanted his motorcycle back. When you look at it, what a small thing to cause the big. He wanted his motorcycle back. He had all the people there on gunpoint, and police were contacted. A description of the hostage taker was given. Michael Funk escaped the attack and was killed by 2 police officers. After all this was over and Brian Fladoff was arrested, and even during this period with the hostage taking, the hostages, one by one, were arrested, detained. Maybe it's a better word to say detained. A young man, Ethan Motorcycle, was taken into custody even before all of the activities occurred. Why? Because he had an Eagle Nation outfit, which was black pants, black shirt with Eagle Nation written all over it. He was arrested. So this is somewhat of a plague. It's a bad plague, tragic. What happened after the fact? There was an investigation, finding of no cause. Everything was just fine, hunky-dory. There had been a lawsuit that was filed over the 2012 incident, case dismissed. There was a lawsuit started by Michael Funk's family, case dismissed. So what I'd like to do is file an action relating to these hostages. There's no reason that a victim and a witness of crime, we have a strong law under 950 of the statute to protect victims of crimes. There's no reason that they had to be treated that way. So that's one component. The other component is hopefully to get some change in the way that the use of rules misapplied, the way people in Eagle Nation were stereotyped as being part of a gang, not a business. Hopefully that'll never happen again. So the lawsuit will be in the Eastern District. The change, I'm hoping, will be in front of the Police Commission. And also we are requesting that the two officers, Ross and Hofford, be charged with reckless homicide, second-degree reckless homicide. With that, I'll turn it over to my investigator, Mr. Slank.
Good morning and thank you. There are a couple of things that we'd look to add with Attorney Walter Stern in his comments. I was listening very carefully. I'll keep it as short as I can so we can move on to questions. Hopefully you'll have quite a few of them. One of the issues that really defines this particular case is that we have a tremendous amount of cooperation from the community. I'm absolutely astonished at the cooperation we've got from Kay Reitz and Pat Piper, Steve Arado. Absolutely anyone involved in this has been very forthcoming and sincere with all their communications with me. We gathered a lot of information. It led us to today, brought Walter Stern to the cause. We have a group of people, we called them the Justice Advocate Team, and they're all extremely sincere. Now, one of the issues that we're very, very much concerned about, and we understand we have a new chief of police since this time, so we're not critical of his actions, not whatsoever. But in the time and the place immediately following what was going on with Eagle Nation and the shooting death of Michael Funk, there was a period in time of about 5.5 months where the public was led to believe that Mike Funk was notified to drop his weapon before he was shot. And there's very clear evidence, very well established, that none of that happened until after the shooting of Michael Funk, and it was substantially after the shooting of Michael Funk. With that in mind, we look at this situation. We can't let it go unchallenged. We have what we need to move forward. We fully intend to do that, and that's why we're here today. So with that, we'll move on to questions. Everyone here is prepared to answer whatever you might have. Thank you.
So you said you were hoping to file. Has anything been officially filed yet?
No, that will be on Monday.
Can you talk about the evidence you have that says that the command was given after the shot? to drop the weapon?
Do you know, are you referring to Michael Funk or the hostage?
Microphone.
Okay. First of all, there was a description of the hostage. Michael Funk did not even closely resemble the hostage. It was known through dispatch, the name of the hostage, Brian Flatter. It was said numerous times. 911 were informed numerous times. His name and that he was there to recover a motorcycle. And so there was no evidence, none, that the people inside Eagle Nation were hostage takers or were going to ambush the police. None. Speculation that these people were a motorcycle gang, like the Sons of Anarchy or something that bad. And you can look at the reports and you can see that even going back to 2012, they were referred to as a motorcycle gang, not a business, a motorcycle gang. So there was really no evidence whatsoever that the officers themselves were in danger relating to Michael Funk. And he was dressed in the same uniform that I talked about earlier.
Is this what you're using as the basis for the reckless homicide that you would like the officers to be charged with?
Yes.
So what exactly are these new developments and how were they discovered or how did they surface?
Well, first of all, I reviewed 1,486 pages of the DCI's report. And as we were going into the report, we realized, which really new, is that right before the team into Eagle Nation, the so-called hasty team went in, they were told that the name of the individual was Shotgun, that was known to be the nickname of Brian Flano. So there was no shock. There was no surprise. That's a new development. Very new development. Because if they knew who he was and knew he was the hostage taker, why go in there with guns blazing? And why shoot a person that did not meet that description? But as you well know, the civil part of that case has been resolved. They just missed the case against the two officers. So I'm not going there as far as the civil cases. I think those are the good developments. Okay, sure.
My name is Kay Reeds. I would just like to set the record straight. And after December 5th, 2015, when Michael was shot and killed, Steve O'Rado and I went to the mayor, to the city attorney, and to the chief of police at that time. And we told them that if they could prove to us that Michael Funk was told to drop the weapon, that we would walk away and they'd never hear from us again. That didn't happen. 5 months later, when a very good video from the police department's dash cam came out and showed that Michael Funk was never told to drop that weapon, and Steve and I again approached these people, and the answer we got from the city attorney was, well, they didn't have to tell him, it's not a Wisconsin state law. So for 5 months, the people of the community, 5 months in our minds, we lived through wondering if Michael Funk was really told to drop that weapon or not. And again, he was not told to drop that weapon. Therefore, we don't feel he was a threat to the officers. There were probably hundreds of officers there on that day. 2 people shot, and nobody died until the police shot him.
Is there any other questions? I'd be glad to answer.
I have another question. And
Sure.
I apologize if this is too technical. I just kind of read the 78 page, the Attorney General, their report. And I'm certain you're an attorney, you knew this is going to be the hard part to overcome, but you know the law obviously the weapon, the Canadian given the weapon was after he was shot after the command was given. So how do you plan to overcome that? Because I read the Officer Ross and he said that he believed that since the other officer had taken fire to the head or on his helmet, that he assumed that it was an ambush. And so how do you plan to overcome it?
Well, first of all, there is no ambush. Thinking that there's an ambush, believing that the people in this place are motorcycle gangs with a pending lawsuit from 2012 is not exactly facts and evidence. Hopefully, they were trained officers that do not go by hunches and stereotypical opinions about the people that were present in that building. But to really get to the question, the civil case is over. It's been dismissed. The Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed, basically on what we call the doctrine of qualified immunity. So as far as the civil case, that's done. There is no qualified immunity in criminal cases. And it's a doctrine that I hope disappears from the scene in the next years with the Black Lives Matter cases throughout the country. One of the major reforms would be the qualified immunity. That will have to happen either statewide, from state to state, or that will have to happen federally, Congress passing an act abolishing this concept.
Why
Okay.
has it taken, I'm sorry. Why has it taken so long to get to this point? I know you talked about all the years, you know, that have passed.
Well,
Walter.
yeah, they found me. I guess they found me and I was about ready to retire. And so much for that. And I looked at it, I read everything. And they asked me, would I take a new look at it? And I said, I will, but I'm not going to go after people, whether they're police officers or anyone else, without evidence, without proof. Unlike the stereotypes that the police had about Eagle Nation, I don't have stereotypes about police. I don't have stereotypes about who the chief was at the time. I don't have stereotypes about the DC. So that's why I want to take a look at it.
When it comes to the hostage treatment that you're talking about, you know, I feel like most people would think, well, yeah, for a situation like that, police are gonna wanna question everybody. So what was it about their treatment that seemed unjust?
Well, if you want to get the witness to cooperate, you don't point guns at them. Put them in handcuffs, and in some cases, take them to the police department. That is not how you ask witness questions. I think it would make sense under the circumstances to pat down the hostages, just to make sure they're not armed. And then ask them, come down to the department and make a statement as to what happened. The thing that happened wrong, the things that happened wrong, were the treating of the hostages as if you were taking them into custody for a crime. They did not commit a crime. Did I answer? I hope I did. Okay.
Can you talk about what those 5 months that you mentioned were like for you guys?
Well, to say it was very hard to live with is an understatement. We met with, presented them actually with a bill of, I believe, Steve, it was like $32,000 for damages to Eagle Nation cycles by the police shooting and Steve's vehicle tires being slashed. We were told at that time that, you know, they were not going to pay for the damages. They would pay for the damages to Steve's car, which never happened. So for 5 months, we just felt like we were living, every question we would ask and the answers we were getting were just lies to us. And, you know, we tried a couple of different things to bring awareness, you know, about this whole thing out. And after the 5 months was up in May, when the hearing came out and the video was showed, again, that Michael was not told to drop the weapon, we decided, you know, now we're gonna have to do something to keep this going, that Michael Funk did not die in vain. Michael Funk's mother was very instrumental in helping us, keeping things going with us, Phyllis Funk. She died of a broken heart 2 years ago. So we came to this point after, you know, we just decided we're not gonna give up until justice is served for Michael. And that's why we kept doing what we're doing. We had some radio shows and, you know, different events that to keep the awareness out in the public. Once the public found out that Michael was not told to drop the weapon, it really seemed to change. More people became involved with us and more people wanted more information. The more we could get, the more they wanted, because they were all stuck on that one incident of being told to drop the weapon. And then we found Walter and Rob, and this is where we're at now. Does that help you?
I'd like Steve to take it. Okay. Steve, just a few words.
What I'd like to add to that was, police released a press release that we got a copy of. The day of the situation happened, December 5th. And in that press release, it states that Michael Funk was warned to drop the gun and he didn't, and that medical treatment was provided for him. Well, in effect, he was shot they found 17 bullets in him, and he was left to lay in the alley for 45 minutes, and no medical attention was provided.
Oh, excuse me, I would like to just elaborate a little bit on Steve's mention about the 45 minutes that Michael was left laying in the alley untreated. When the Attorney General Brad Schimmel came to town on May 6th and met this very chamber here and told the public and everyone that no charges were going to be filed, that the police were justified, a gentleman in the front row raised his hand. He said, I have a question. Why did Michael Funk lay in the alley for 45 minutes? And Shelley Rush stood there and Schimmel said to her, well, you answered. She said, well, and I said, well, that's a good question. Why did Michael Funk lay in that alley for 45 minutes untreated? And Shelley's answer to me was, the shooter was still in the building and the police could have been under fire. And I said, well, 45 minutes later, the shooter was still in the building. What changed? And Brad Schimmel said, no more questions. And they all walked away. So this is the kind of treatment that we got. When you ask how was it for 5 months, this is just a small example of the treatment that we got around in. And that's what forced us to do what we're doing today. It could have all been taken care of. Could have been taken care of 5 years ago.
What do you think your chances of success are in federal court, given that 2 previous lawsuits in that district have been dismissed?
That's a very good question. I'm not going to say three times is a lucky charm, but I think with the hostages, I think that's very clear. You don't take people into custody when they're victims of a crime. I think that's the difference. It doesn't deal with Michael Funk's shooting. It doesn't deal with the 2012 raid on Eagle Nation. That is not going to be a subject for debate in the civil arena. But we do have the same judge. Interesting.
You have the date?
No, it's going to be filed Monday.
And just, not to make you repeat yourself, but can you just bullet point what exactly it is you're filing on Monday?
Sure, it's a civil lawsuit under the Civil Rights Act, Federal Civil Rights Act, dealing with the treatment or mistreatment of the hostages.
Kathy, can you spell the name? Let's vote.
Oh, I'm
Attorney
Walter.
Walter Stern.
That's easy.
I guess that's.
K.
Spell your first and last name.
KAYREETZ.